Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Let's start by saying everybody's lying. All right, it's just a difference in quantity. And this quantity is always variable. Sometimes these guys lie more and this guy lie less. And then the other day, this switches. But they always never down here. They're always here. Okay? So we start now with an article coming from Russia Today, and where Dmitry Medvedev, the worst dude for Ukraine, seems like, the former president of the Russian Federation, makes some claims that, according to him, Ukraine is done, is inching closer to surrendering, like is there to collapse. And then I have Danilov, the Secretary of, I think, Security, National Security of Ukraine, stating that no, actually, Russia is, asking for negotiations and is desperate and is begging and all that. So as I said, we're going to figure out what's the quantity and we're going to analyze who's lying more or who's lying less. Okay? Because it's like when you go to buy a car at a dealership. Oh man, I made a deal. Yeah, I saved this, I saved that. Yeah, I showed that dealer guy, a little bit of how to negotiate. No. You didn't win anything. You didn't lose maybe that much, but you lost. Be certain about that. You lost, but you don't know that you lost. You think you won because you didn't lose that much. The same here. These guys are lying. It's just the quantity, the same. Baby, I bought the car, made a good deal. I showed that weasel. No, you didn't show anything. He showed you, but you don't know it yet. You're going to realize some other time. So let's go with this one. This is from Russia Today. And this is from today, February 7th, 2023. Kiev inching closer to conceding defeat. Ex-Russian president claims. This is the ex-president, Dmitry Medvedev. Dmitry Medvedev, actually is Dmitry Medvedev cited talks about a Korean scenario, end quote, in Ukraine as evidence of a growing acceptance of, and I'm quoting, reality. Discussions of a Korean scenario in Ukraine are a sign that Kiev is on the way to recognizing the reality on the ground and accepting its losses. Medvedev said the idea of a Korean-style division of Ukraine has been discussed by current and former officials in Kiev, who claim that this is what Russia is pursuing. The idea is that Ukraine could be divided up the way Korea was after the war in the 1950s, is, and I'm quoting, for domestic consumption, end quote, and constitutes, and I'm quoting, wishful thinking, end quote, Medvedev added, citing unnamed, and I'm quoting, propagandists as peddling the notion. What is notable is that, and I'm quoting, they coyly tested the statement and there can be no victory, and that, and I'm quoting again, being split is the best case scenario, end quote, the former president said. The Korean scenario means that a smaller US-backed Ukraine could eventually develop to the level of South Korea while maintaining its claims over lost territories, Medvedev explained. And I'm quoting, in essence, this is the first step towards accepting the realities on the ground, end quote, he says. So he said that there are some officials in Kiev that are still in office and are not, talking about this scenario, which means, okay, that means they're kind of accepting that they will lose part of Ukraine to and accept realities, which is the Russians being on those territories. Now they give you a little bit of history about South Korea, and it says here that unlike South Korea, Donbass voted in a referendum. South Korea, North Korea, it was just different. It was a 3-year civil war in which the opposing factions in the north and the south were backed by USSR and China and the US respectively. Both Pyongyang and Seoul claim sovereignty of the entire Korean peninsula, and each considers the other government to be unlawful. And he says, or at least these guys say, unlike South Korea, Donbas voted in a referendum to become part of Russia rather than forming a sovereign state, Medvedev said, arguing that and I'm quoting, Korean scenario is not feasible for Ukraine. So he said, no, it's not going to be a Korea scenario. It's not going to work. The former president currently serves as the deputy chairman of the Russian National Security Council. So the idea was floated in the Ukrainian public last month by Medvedev's counterpart in Kiev, Alexander Danilov. Ba-bam! And listen what Danilov says. Ukraine is not Korea. So this is Danilov, Security Council Secretary, response to Medvedev regarding division along the 38th parallel. Okay, let's go back to this one. Boom, boom. So this week, the idea was floated to the Ukrainian public last month by this guy that I just showed you, who claimed that Russia is lobbying EU nations to accept a Korean-style split of his nation and stated that Kiev would reject it. The Kremlin dismissed the report as a hoax. All right, he said again today, this guy Danilov, right there, February 7th. Ukraine is not Korea, so he doesn't want that scenario. So he says here the idea was floated to the Ukrainian public last month by Medvedev's counterpart, who claimed that Russia is lobbying but they rejected. Okay, this week the Korean scenario was also brought up by Alexei Arestovich, the former aide of the office of Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Speaking at an expert panel discussion on Monday, he stated that Ukraine does not have enough manpower to beat Russia on the battlefield anytime soon, and claimed that a Korean scenario may become an acceptable off-ramp for the parties involved. So this was Alexei Arestovich, the former aide to the office of Ukrainian president. So he's not there anymore. I don't know what Arestovich is doing right now. Maybe he's in prison because he cooperated with the enemies. Like Danilov before him, Arestovich claimed that Russia is seeking this time of outcome, while noting that Western nations, which Kiev depends on, think the same way. Now let's go to Danilov from Ukrainska Pravda. Ukraine is not Korea. Security Council, blah, 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 blah. Response to Medvedev. Why don't you respond to Arestovich? Regarding division along the 38th parallel. Anyway, so this is the guy that I wouldn't want to do business with this guy, I gotta tell you that. Business in a way of trust. I don't know, this guy through his statements and not only is kind of like negative trust. Alexei Danilov, Secretary of the National Security and Defense, but it's a personal thing. You might be, I don't know, wet about it. I'm not, or about him. Of Ukraine reacted to the words of Dmitry Medvedev, Deputy Chairman of the Security regarding the development of events in Ukraine according to the Korean scenario and the division of the country along a conditional parallel. That's not what Medvedev said. So, quote from Danilov, Ukraine is not Korea. There will be no 38th parallel, probably, and other parallels, other people's stories and scenarios imposed from the outside. The coordinates of the movement of the Russian warship are set. No changes are provided, and the defense forces of Ukraine are working. Okay, and he says that Medvedev said in his post that Ukraine seemed to be considering the possibility of a Korean scenario in the war with Russia, seeking to become like South Korea and hoping for a liberation. This is, but according to Medvedev, the Korean scenario is impossible because Russia is state and is a state with full sovereignty and the most formidable weapons. End quote. He also threatened that Ukraine will be divided into parts. Well, could be looking at this situation now. Now, look what's going on. This guy, on the other hand, said that Russia actually is losing. Because you see here the title? Kiev inching closer to conceding defeat. All right, so that means Kiev is losing. Now you got these guys saying, the same guy, says Moscow starts begging for negotiations through mediators. Why would you beg for negotiations? You're not going to beg because you want to save lives, right? You would beg because you're losing and you're going to get beaten, right? And then I got another one here. Putin is begging Ukraine to have negotiation through other countries, Defense Council Secretary. So this is the same thing from the same defense secretary right here. Secretary of the National Security Defense Council. So, is Kiev inching closer, or is Putin begging? Now, Putin begging. So which one is it? As I said, today one is lying almost as much as the other one, because you can't have it both ways here. One of them must be winning and the other one must be losing. Or they are so evenly, right there that none of them is losing or winning, which is kind of impossible, because one of them might have successes today, but not successes the next day, and the other one. So the fact is, if you want the fact, like the reality on the territory, is that Russia so far is having Ukrainian territory, if you want me to be like that. Yeah, he's got the Ukrainian territories. Like it or not, that's the reality at hand. And it doesn't show that the Ukrainians are capable at this point to push them back. On the contrary, according to Ukrainian media, not Russian media, which I covered yesterday, which is the update, right? According to Ukrainians, Russians are conducting 5 offensive operations. 5 offensive operations in Avdiivka, that is in Donetsk area. In Avdiivka, Liman, Bakhmut, what was the other one? Novopavlivka, and now they started in Zaporozhye, which is Zaporozhye Oblast. So that's 5, according to the Ukrainians, not with the Russians. And then yesterday, again, they came with 3 more. I'm speeding here. So 3 more. The same, the Ukrainians. So that would make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 offensive operations. Successful or not, they are there. I haven't heard of any Ukrainian offensive operations. Did you? Since what? October, September, they were successful? I didn't hear anything about it. So I don't think Russia is losing as of now. Even if you look on the map and if you listen to these statements coming from these guys. And I can remember exactly, it was in Luhansk, the three, not the 5. The 5 was in Donetsk plus Zaporozhye, and this one were in Luhansk. I can't remember the towns, Belihovra, I can't remember. I don't want to talk too much, I don't know. I made a video yesterday and I mentioned all that with, obviously with article posted and so on. So we posted right there and read from it. So it's 8, at least 8 offensive operations Russia is conducting, plus the territory it already got. So what are you talking about? Who's begging for what? Is this it? I mean, it's like the Russians cannot do anything else, but how do I know you can? I mean, it didn't show any. So what's going on then? It's like you start criticizing a boxer. Oh, he's losing. Do that, man. Do an uppercut, man, uppercut. Oh, man, it's so bad. He's losing. What about you? You're not even in the ring. You know what I mean? So get in the ring, show us what you can do, and then you can, be so tough about giving that guy instructions. So yeah, the same. Ukraine, you don't show much so far. And besides, if the Americans and other wizards are just unplug, you're done. The next day you're gonna be, hey, can we talk? Hello, excuse me, Putin. Hello, the bad dude. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.